All right, so that trailer for Werewolf by Night left me with pretty high expectations for the show. I absolutely loved it, and I was so looking forward to the series. And I'm glad that they released the trailer only a couple weeks before the show came out because, man, that would have been a long time to wait. But I'm not going to bury the lead here. I was not disappointed in the slightest with this special presentation. It really just hit all the marks that the trailer hit. It was exactly what the trailer kind of made it out to be. Very much like paying homage to the very old, earliest of 1930s and 40s horror genre flicks. And even stuff like 60s, 70s stuff, even like Romero, Night of the Living Dead stuff. Like, it was creepy. Now, to say that it was actually scary, was I ever actually scared or jumping from something popping out? No, not really. But it had such a creepy vibe. I loved how all the characters delivered their lines. It was just so creepy. And I liked the format. I liked that it was, it was a self-contained story. It was just a one-off, kind of one-shot issue, if you will. And you didn't need to know anything going in. Like, you don't have to be, unlike a lot of things in the MCU, with this, you don't have to in any way be familiar with the MCU or anything else that's going on. Nothing connects. It's all just its own thing, and you don't need to know anything to enjoy it. So I thought it was perfect to put out as a special presentation rather than like a series or a film or something like that would interconnect. I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend it to anyone, whether you are into the Marvel films and series or not, because like I said, you can enjoy it regardless. Especially if you like old horror, if you like classic horror stuff, you're going to enjoy all the kind of callbacks to that era. And I loved how the setup was with like Jack Russell being like embedded in this group of hunters. And so, for anyone that didn't know any better, you would go in having no idea that this guy was the werewolf by night, right? You had no idea. It was just like he was one of the hunters. I loved how they introduced him and said like, this person has this many kills, this person has this many kills. Actually, they said, what are they? They didn't say kills. They said this person has this many, what do they say? Like confirmed kills? I don't know. But when they came to Jack Russell, they said that he had 100 kills. Like, they didn't say how many hunts. They didn't say how many, whatever. They differentiated the deaths that came from him from the other ones. Even though those characters were not supposed to know, I guess, what was going on. So, I don't know. I just loved it. It played like a mystery that kind of unveiled itself throughout. I keep wanting to call it an episode, but it's not. It's like a short film. And I'm so glad that it was. The only, I guess, criticism I have of this is that it left me wanting, which I don't know if that's a criticism or not, because, most of these Marvel series and films, they don't leave you wanting. Like, if anything, sometimes they give you a little more than you want, right? Sometimes you get a, 9-episode series when 6 would have done. Sometimes you get a 6-episode series when a film would have done. So, and not to say that I don't love all this stuff. And look, if you want a super in-depth, kind of scene-by-scene review of this, I will be reviewing it over on my podcast, Marvel Plus. If you want to go look it up, I'll be having a guest on to talk about it in detail. But this is just kind of my quick, instant reaction to it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I loved Man-Thing. I loved Man-Thing in this. That was like, Man-Thing was the creepiest thing in it, like way creepier than the werewolf. And let me tell you that the werewolf, I loved, like, as much as I love seeing like a more actually wolf-like type of werewolf, there's something about that classic Wolfman look, and that's exactly what they gave him in here. Very like kind of comic accurate, where it just looks like a really fuzzy, furry man, with like fangs and claws. But when you look at his face, like it's a Wolfman. It's not a werewolf really. It's more like the Wolfman, the classic Wolfman from days of old. And I absolutely love that. I love it. It was just one more way to pay homage to that era. But Man-Thing was not only cool, but kind of creepy. I loved the effects. There were a lot of practical effects in this, which I absolutely love. Like a lot less CGI. They really went with the classic feel, and I loved how Man-Thing looked. And even that, and there was no comedy in it, really. I love it. If there was, it was super subtle, which is, different for a Marvel property. Usually it's chock full of comedy. But no real comedy in this. Some kind of comedic lines that I guess you could kind of, like dry humor, but nothing crazy. Not until the very end, where it's kind of like the little, not even end credits. There's no end credits scene, but like kind of the last scene was a little comedic, right? But it didn't at all take away from the creepiness of the show, the movie, the film, whatever you want to call it. I loved that they kept with that aesthetic. I loved that it was in black and white, the entire thing, until the very end, except for the Bloodstone being red. That very much reminded me of like a Frank Miller type of thing, right? Like a Sin City type of thing. You make the blood red, or different things like you highlight. That Yellow Bastard is yellow, but for the most part, it's all black and white. Absolutely love that. The Bloodstone was the only thing that was red throughout the entire thing until the very end, and then even the colors look kind of cool. And I loved that they played some Wizard of Oz, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, as the color came in. Oh man, they thought of all the things. They pulled out all the stops for this thing. Like I said, my only complaint is that it wasn't longer, but I don't even know if that's a complaint, because if it was longer, maybe it could have run the risk of being too long and not leaving me wanting, but it's definitely left me wanting. I hope we get to see these characters again. Emma Bloodstone was an amazing character. All these people were awesome. Like I said, Man-Thing was awesome. The Werewolf was awesome. Jack Russell was awesome. It was just so well acted, so well delivered, and I can't say enough about it. I can't wait for them to do something else with it. I hope that they do. I hope that we see these characters somewhere else pop up. I'd love to see, a Jack Russell and Moon Knight team up, or even clash, or what have you, because that's actually where Moon Knight premiered for the first time. His first appearance was in a Werewolf by Night comic. So I'd love to see that team up, and I want to see more Marvel horror genre stuff. Please leave the comedy at home. I just want this horror stuff. I love it. It's not too scary where my kids can't watch it, but it's just creepy enough to satisfy my needs for creepiness, right? Great Halloween special. Absolutely loved it. Love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening in podcast format. Please hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at RealBrettScott. Follow me over there. I do all kinds of stuff, all kinds of podcasts, all kinds of YouTube stuff. So if you're interested in my takes on entertainment and pop culture, please follow me. And if you do decide to subscribe to the channel or favorite or follow the podcast, then I'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks.